Sushant Sareen of ITSA, KC Singh, former Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, Seshadri Chari heads the Foreign Affairs Cell of the BJP. My first question is to Mr. G. Parthasarathy. Mr. Parthasarathy, we are here violating the United Nations declarations. We have no business technically to be intervening in the internal or external affairs of any state. There's a judicial process in Maldives and we've got sucked into this. Why should we care? Why should we care what happens to Nasheed?
All right. Let's be very clear. This business of non-interference in internal affairs is theoretically fine. In practice, it does not happen. Secondly, with regard to Maldives, in 1998, they asked us to militarily intervene.
Yeah.
In the recent crisis, when a lawfully elected President Nasheed was removed from office and Wahid came in, we acted as guarantors on a request of both, and the guarantee was that be free and fair and inclusive elections. Now, let's come to President Wahid. Ever since that happened, he has behaved abominably towards us. Firstly, he goes to China, to Urumqi, and accuses us of interference in their internal affairs. Then he strikes a $5 billion deal with China. Then he throws out GMR arbitrarily without negotiations. If it was to be annulled, it could have been courteously done. And then finally he sends his defense minister, who is also the minister dealing with the GMR, to China and gets assurances.
No, but why should we bother?
The Islamic parties there.
Why should we?
Let me complete. We have to bother because we are looking at a string of pearls of bases around us by China. We can't pretend it's not happening. And secondly, we have to protect our economic interests. Finally, since they asked us to be guarantor at that point in time, and then we were followed by the Americans, then the British and everybody else, we certainly have a role to see that that guarantee is fulfilled. Yeah. I mean, are we a banana republic or a little power to be pushed around by Maldives that they can invite us when they want and
I get your point. I take your point. We should aggressively intervene and curtail Chinese involvement. But I don't know. I have actually got. Let's go to Malé. Masood Imad is media secretary to the Maldivian President Mohammad Wahid Hassan. Masood Imad, good evening. There's a very strong view emerging in the Indian diplomatic community that we have every business to interfere in what is happening in Maldives. Especially because, with all respect, your president, who you represent today, has not been very friendly with India, has been far too pro-China in his approach. Your response, please. Oops, I think the line is frozen there with the media secretary of the Maldivian president. Let's go back to him in some time. KC Singh, do you agree with Mr. Parthasarathy?
Well, I agree with some parts of it. I think as a regional power with aspirations to be a great power, you have to have power projection in your immediate periphery. And that is necessary for your maritime security. You've seen what happened in Mumbai, 26/11. The attack had come from the ocean. And here is a country of 330,000 with an extremely active right wing and Muslim Brotherhood entrenched there. Now you don't want it to become a citadel of China and Pakistan, or even worse, Al-Qaeda. Therefore, it is important that the first island chain, not only Maldives, but Maldives, Sri Lanka, Andamans, in any case we have, is your first line of defense. The first line of defense is not your coast. Otherwise, we'll have a repeat of 26/11 or worse. But problem is not, I'm not saying whether we became the guarantors or not. I think the problem is we've been behind the curve. We had to anticipate a problem and then deal with it in a manner that you're not seen as meddling in it. The greatest kind of power projection is when you're able to influence the decision making in a country without seeming to meddle in it. But you got yourself into a mess because you allowed a change to take place from Nasheed to Wahid. You sided with Wahid, showing indecent haste in getting Prime Minister to write a letter to him and recognizing that government. That was the time where you had a pressure point. You should have withheld that letter. The Americans were taking a call from you, and you should have negotiated whatever had to be negotiated
exactly
before recognizing Wahid.
Exactly.
But having sided with Wahid, now you go back to Nasheed. So you're falling between two stools.
We did that.
No, Nasheed sitting in your High Commission.
No,
Tomorrow you have an election there. You know, you think he's going to win an election. He'll be seen as an Indian stooge.
I entirely agree that it was mishandled. I agree with KC in the initial stages, but you are stuck with the role of a guarantor and with developments in your neighborhood.
No, gentlemen, you know, when Nasheed resigned in February 2012, Mr. Chari, yes, question is to you. When he resigned, at that point of time, we said, if I'm not mistaken, that it is Maldives' internal matter. We chose not to intervene. Therefore, today we'll be told that you are hypocrites. You take one position in 2012 and now you are being over-aggressively protective of Nasheed. Why didn't you protect him 1 year back?
No. No, we didn't say it is the internal matter.
We said internal matter.
But
we said internal matter.
But the only mistake, the only mistake we made at that time, as KC Singh very rightly pointed out, was that we were too quick and without any recourse to getting back on this. We did not use our diplomatic channel, and we could have easily seen that the political wrong that was done could have been easily corrected. Number one. Number two, you know, we are not interfering in the internal matters of Maldives. It has come and fallen on our lap. We did not ask the former Prime Minister to come and sit in our office in the Indian Embassy. He walked into it. What can you do?
No, he can.
We cannot allow him to be a victim. We cannot allow him to be a victim of the witch hunt which is taking place there.
But it is not our business.
And the Maldives situation is almost very serious.
No.
It is getting radicalized. All kinds of Islamic groups are finding home there. And the worst thing is, we are losing our foothold in the Indian Ocean region. We cannot compromise
but we have already lost
internal
it.
Security situation.
No, we have, Mr. Chari.
No, we have not lost it. Sorry. We cannot conduct international diplomacy with this viewpoint that we have already lost. We have not lost anything. We have still to gain.
No, the fact is, let me put it differently.
We will have to be very carefully calibrate the situation. And use all the diplomatic channels.
No, diplomacy, you know, this whole, I like this point of view which talks about aggressive, but that aggressive diplomacy happens by siding with those who are strong, not by backing the weak. Now, you have a man who's going to be seen, as some people say, as KC says, he's going to be seen as an Indian stooge. China has already, Sushant Sareen, China has already got a...
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
No. One second.
Okay, Sushant Sareen, please. Yes, Sushant.
First thing, asylum by definition is given to somebody who is being hounded for whatever reason. Asylum is technically not interference in another country's affairs. But having said that, the fact of the matter is that India, if it wants to play a role on the world stage, we have these pretensions that from the Straits of Malacca to the Gulf of Eden, that's our sphere of influence. And if somebody is going to trifle with us, somebody like Maldives or any other country, then I think shame on us, number one. Number two, both Mr. KC Singh and Mr. Parthasarathy are right. This situation was mishandled. But having said that, I think it is extremely important that anybody, India has got a very bad reputation in the neighborhood that this is a country which doesn't stick with people who are well disposed towards it and who are its friends. I remember a case in Pakistan where some people had approached a then leader of Pakistan with certain proposals and I told him that, look, there is so much India can do for you if you improve relations with India. He said, yes, I know all of that, but will India come to my assistance if I get into trouble? And the answer was, India did not come to his assistance when he got into trouble. This is the kind of reputation India has gained over the years, and it's about time that we change this reputation. As far as the people in Maldives thinking that, Nasheed will be seen as an Indian stooge, I think the jury is still out on that. He might lose one election.
Okay, he's not an Indian stooge, But-
who's well disposed towards us and who remains a very popular man,
Fine.
then, the life of a country is long enough and we might see somebody like him come back. After all, we have had friendly people in Bangladesh come to power and we've really benefited from that. We've had friendly governments in Sri Lanka and we've really benefited from that.
No, we-
So just because some section or an Islamist section in Maldives is going to see somebody who's well disposed towards India as an Indian stooge does not necessarily mean that you do not stand with your friends.
No, you stand with your friends, but we have to look at it, G. Parthasarathy, from the point of view of China. China has such great relationship with...
Just a minute.
No, Mike, allow me one
That's the point I
small
made.
intervention, sir. My own limited point to you is China already East Africa, Seychelles, Mauritius, Maldives, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Cambodia, Gwadar Port in Pakistan. They've really encircled us. They've been very, very successful in this whole policy. Now, if we now antagonize the existing government in Malé even more, and Nasheed does not sweep the election, then we are pushing Maldives, just as a point of we are pushing Maldives straight into the hands of the Chinese.
Let me put it this way. Wahid is a loser. He has no political base. He is acting as a front for Gayoom. The third candidate is Gayoom's daughter. So let's understand the politics there. We have dealt with Gayoom. We bailed him out in 1988 with military intervention. So let's be real. Wahid got too big for his boots. I mean, going to Urumqi, meeting the Chinese Prime Minister and abusing us on Chinese soil?
Okay, let's get
for saying that the Chinese are very well behaved and the Indians are not.
We have the representative of Mohammad Wahid.
I'm not saying interfere in the elections.
I get your point.
But since we intervened at their request and they agreed to elections, some responsibility
Is
we have
on
for free
us.
and fair elections.
I think we must immediately dispatch our observers also and conduct a free and fair election in that country.
No, that can be done. No,
It has to be done immediately.
There are others also who are not too pleased with Wahid. Don't forget the Americans in the West came in after we acted as guarantors. Nobody was willing to negotiate.
Negotiate
and I
on
agree
behalf
with
of
KC entirely that perhaps that was misplaced. To place to let down Nasheed and stand by Wahid at that point.
Muhammad Wahid Hassan's representative Masood Imad is joining us now on the phone line from Malé. I'm sorry about the video link, Mr. Imad. It's not very good, but many of our panelists here in our Times Now studio seem to believe, with all respect, that His Excellency Muhammad Wahid Hussain Hassan actually exceeded his limits. He was very anti-India in his approach. Masood Imad, is Muhammad Wahid anti-India in his approach? And is that one of the reasons why this situation has come to such a pass?
Well, let me tell you something. I've been listening to the conversation that was going on all the time, and I've been making some observations myself. I think the remarks that you're making is very bad and is incorrect. Dr. Wahid has been very pro-India and has not involved in China. Some of the arguments that you all have been raising there are based about Chinese and...
Just a minute. I want to contradict that. I want to contradict that. Your president at Urumqi praised China and pointing to India said, unlike other powers, big powers in our neighborhood, China does not interfere in our internal affairs. Whom are you trying to fool?
China does not interfere with within our internal affairs. Absolutely. China only has...
You go and accuse... So you go and accuse us in China?
No, we are not accusing India. We are not accusing India.
Oh, come on.
Nobody accused India. I'm sorry.
Mr. Masood will know better.
I heard somebody say that...
I have a question.
Yeah, let Mr. Shadri Chari, 1 minute, say Shadri Chari, let Mr. Masood Imad put his point of view. Mr. Masood Imad, the head of the Foreign Affairs Cell of the BJP, Seshadri Chari, would also like to put a question to you. But first, before that, Mr. Chari, let Mr. Masood Imad come in because we lost the video line with him and he's been listening on to this conversation. Clearly, he represents a point of view which feels that, India is misplaced in looking upon the present government in Maldives as anti-India. Let him put his point of view and then I'm coming to you, sir. Yes, Mr. Imad.
Yeah, look, I don't think that's proper to say that the present government is anti-India. We are friends of India. We have maintained good relations. In fact, this afternoon, our foreign minister has spoken to your external affairs minister about the case that is going on here in Male of Mr. Nasheed entering your High Commission and not coming out of it. As the executive branch of the government, we want to stay clear out of it because this is a judicial matter. Mr. Nasheed is wanted by the court for having, during his term in office as president, having kidnapped a judge, ordered the kidnapping of a judge, and taking him away to an undisclosed location. The case was filed in the courts during his tenure of office, not during the tenure of President Wahid. Now, the case is running. He has been summoned once to court. He absconded, and the police was given an order by the court to bring him to justice. And the police did that. And this is the second time that he has been called in by the court for a hearing. He absconds it, and the normal procedure in the judiciary is that they will then ask the police to bring him in. And this time he walks into the embassy. So with due respect, you know, the warrant for him to be brought into the court was valid until only 4 o'clock yesterday evening. After that,
Mr. Imad, this is Arnab Goswami. I understand what you are saying.